I'm Tanya Eberhardt, and I have a company called BrandFace, and the founder of the company, actually, Michael and I are partners in the company now. And I am the author of 4 personal branding books, and one of those that you are on here to talk about today is this one, BrandFace for Real Estate Professionals. About 5 years ago, I met the gentleman who is on this conference with me today, Michael Carr. I'm joining you from Columbus, Ohio today, and Michael is actually joining from on the road, as you can probably tell. He's in his car. He is not driving at the moment, at least I hope. We'll probably do a follow-up email tomorrow, and I'll actually send you an interview that Michael and I did not too long ago, sharing our funny story. As a matter of fact, Michael was not the most the easiest client to get. He didn't want to do business with me at first, and it took a while to convince him to do business with me. So having said that, we'll share that story later, but obviously we've come a long way since that time. Michael is a real estate broker. I'll let him talk about himself here in just a moment and introduce himself. But I was lucky enough to meet Michael, to help him grow his business, to have him then become a co-author of the BrandFace for Real Estate Professionals version of the book, and then to become my business partner. So welcome, Michael, and I will go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Carr, and I am the founder and the CEO of Michael Carr and Associates, one of the 3 divisions of my company, but the one that we're most interested in displaying today. And I have my tagline is anything real estate, and it has been since 2012. And we have the confidence in our office of over 68,000 residential transactions. And I've been licensed as a broker or an auctioneer in 30 states, 27 states of the continental United States. So been active in a lot of real estate over the years, but I have a home office in a suburb of Atlanta that we have really been pushing hard. That's how I met Tanya. Again, a different story for a different day. I'm very glad to be working with her and have been since the day that I signed up with her. And we still, to this day, use the BrandFace principles religiously. And we did so when we first met her and worked with her in the end of the summer in 2013, and with astronomical results. And thank you for that, Tanya. And so we definitely believed in it so much, she asked me to write and help her write and some commentary on that second book in the series. And I did so. And then we have been working with real estate agents now we've got 25 states covered, 4 provinces of Canada and New Zealand, and growing, all with real estate agents just like yourself, that have been in situations where they know they need to do something that's going to set them apart, but they're not exactly sure where that is and what that is. And that's what BrandFace is. So that's a little bit of the short story. There'll be more unveiled later on.
Thank you, Michael. So I want to do a real quick reminder here. If you guys have any questions as we go throughout this, type it in the chat window, and Michael and I'll try to swing back around toward the end of it and answer any questions that you have. But so what do we do? So we do what we call the 3 Ds, guys. The first thing we do is we discover a point of differentiation about each one of you. You know, what is it that is unique about you, both professionally and personally, that will do 2 things: make you stand out among other agents in your market, and also help to attract ideal customers that you want to work with every day. So once we differentiate you, discover that differentiation, then we develop a strong personal brand wrapped around that differentiation. And the third thing we do is make sure that brand is displayed correctly and consistently on all of your everyday marketing platforms. So discover, develop, display. That's what we do, and we are branding agents to business stars, in this case, real estate stars. So Michael, I'll let you tell them about Fearless Friday and why we decided to do this.
Absolutely. So we wanted to have workshops and webinars all through the week with agents that we're working with them individually, but we wanted something that reached out to everybody that maybe had some questions or wanted to know a little bit more about what BrandFace does and what we do. And so it's all about empowerment. So we got to thinking about, okay, let's put out a webinar where we're going to meet with people on Friday and just invite anybody in and sort of let them get to know us and what we do, and how we can help them to elevate themselves to a point of fearlessness inside the marketplace for real estate. Because one of the things that we see from so many of our clients is this, and I'm familiar with it also from being in the industry, whether you just started yesterday or sometimes even if you've been in it for 10 years or 15 years, or if you got out of it right before the last late unpleasantness, or if you got back into it, there's new things you need to acclimate yourself with. And confidence is one of the things that we found with people that was amazing to us, that the lack of confidence, or people who felt like they had the lack of confidence in the industry, was a resounding theme from everybody. And I could definitely relate to that. And so we got together and we're like, hey, let's make a Fearless Friday. So we go in here and we sort of tell people about what we do and how we do it and how that will elevate you beyond that. And so that's what this is all about. Just a short snippet about how branding can help you in your business.
All right, guys. So thank you, Michael. So we thought that to start this series, there was probably no better presentation that we could do for you guys than debunking the 5 biggest branding myths. And I want to share that presentation with you right now. So I'm going to share my screen here and pull this presentation up. All right, guys, I hope you can still see this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is kind of walk through these, the 5 biggest branding myths, because these are a result of us doing this for, several years for real estate agents, and I've been doing this for almost 30 years myself, marketing, branding, both companies and individuals. So I found that there are definitely some myths out there, and we're going to tackle those. We're going to debunk those today. So the first one of those is, I'm already branded, okay? And basically, what we mean by that is somebody who really is sure that because, they have a logo, they have consistent colors, they have the photo on materials, they assume themselves to be appropriately branded. And in a sense, you are, but we look at that very, very differently. And I'd like to share a real quick story. It was over 3 years ago that we started this particular program that we do specifically for real estate agents. And I was on the phone with somebody in Arizona, and they said, hey, Tanya, I feel like I'm already pretty well branded in my market. So when I walk into a restaurant, everybody knows, hey, that's Sherry, the realtor. And I said, Sherry, that's a fantastic start, but let me challenge your thought process for a moment. Let's say I walk into that restaurant, I see Sherry, the realtor, but 2 tables to the right, I see Michael, the realtor. And then 3 tables to the left, I see David, the realtor. So now who do I choose? Who am I most likely to connect with or remember, or who is most likely to stand out because I know something about them in advance, right? And most importantly, who am I most likely to remember long after I leave that restaurant? That's what real branding is all about. You see, great branding is not about being known for your profession. It's about being known for being different in your profession. And that's why it's so very important. This particular branding myth, and most people tend to deal with the challenges that come as a result of not standing out one of 3 different ways. One way is they throw money at more marketing tools and think that's going to solve the problem. Second way is they may hire another coach or a trainer to really tell them what they already know they should be doing in many cases. And another is they get a photo shoot or a logo and call it rebranding. And they think one of those 3 things is going to fix everything. When in effect, if you're missing the foundation, what truly sets you apart, those things are not going to help you now. But once you define what truly sets you apart, those things will help you soar. So the marketing tools out there are fantastic. There are a lot of great trainers and coaches, but you got to have all that stuff pulled together. And that's what we mean by the first myth being I'm already branded is generally a tough one. It's generally not true to the extent, at least, that we should be branded. All right. And second one.
Yeah. Myth number 2 is a slogan or a tagline has to say it all. Now, don't get us wrong. If it can say it all, well, then it's a great brand or slogan or tagline. But it does not have to say it all. And you have to keep this in mind, because what we teach in the BrandFace principles is you want the hook. You want something that differentiates you as a authentic and authority in whatever niche of your market that you want to deal in. And again, it doesn't mean that you can't work with anybody. It means that specifically there is a point of differentiation with all of us in our industries, and we need to try to nail that for you, and then you need to try to live that every day. And it's got to be a tagline or a slogan you're very comfortable with, but it doesn't have to say everything. That's what your content is for. And then, of course, BrandFace teaches you not only the right content that you want, but it also teaches you where to put that content that helps to bring everything full circle, because that's what you want. If you just did a tagline and you put it on a billboard somewhere, well, you lose a lot, right? And we've seen that with clients and seen that happen before. Like specifically, we have a friend in Atlanta, and I'm going to give him a free plug right here. And he came up with the tagline, "My Bald Lawyer," because he's bald on purpose. He shaves his head. And used to, he had this killer billboard, and it would see this bald man on the corner, and then it says mybaldlawyer.com, and business was booming and doing great. But later on, he wanted to change things up, and he took his face off of that, and he took his bald head off of that, and now he's got a few billboards that just say mybaldlawyer.com. And to me, he loses so much of the power with that, because we don't have a visual to go along with it. So the point in number 2 is that to debunk that myth is a slogan or tagline doesn't have to say it all. It has to say enough to get people interested in the content. And then we teach you how to take images, elements, photos, and where to put those to showcase not only your slogan, but your content also.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Okay, number 3. Myth is that your brand shouldn't turn people off. Now, this one may surprise a lot of you. You may be really surprised by this one. Actually, it should turn people off, but not necessarily in an offensive way or the way that you might think. The truth of the matter is there are some people who won't fit the goals that you have in mind. And they could be people who just don't live in a geographic area you want to focus on, or don't live in a type of property you want to focus on, or they're at a different stage in life. Perhaps they're first-time home buyers and you'd rather deal with seniors, etc. Or maybe they're a personality type that you don't, necessarily jive with very well. So there are definitely going to be people that you can say are not the best fit for you. And that's okay, and if you're confused about, who your ideal customer is, well, you may want to start with who you don't want to do business with. Make a list of all those personality attributes, maybe the places they live or the type of property they, are seeking, etc. And make a list of those, because that in reverse will define who you do want to work with. We have a great story. We have a friend out in Los Angeles, and her name is Linda Cruz, and she is an actress. And so we asked her at one point in time, she's a spokesperson for a lot of companies, and we asked her one time, "Hey, how did your audition go, Linda?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know. Either they're my people or they're not my people. They'll call me back if they're my people." And that struck Michael and I so poignantly that we share this story all of the time, because it is true. If you put yourself out there in the right kind of way, you're going to attract your people. But by the same token, you're also going to push away, in essence, the people that don't fit that profile you're trying to reach. And again, not in an offensive way, but definitely in a very natural way. And every really outstanding brand is polarizing in some way. So those that really will attract, maybe, the same brand may also repel some people in a sense. And they might look at it and say, that's really not what I'm looking for. Because a great brand elicits one of 3 responses. One is, that's exactly what I've been looking for. Amazing. The second one is, wow, that looks interesting. Let me learn more. And then the third one is, no, that's not really what I was looking for at all. That last one is just as important as the first 2, because it does help us stay on the right track. So just remember this about this tip: find your people.
And number 4 we hear this sometimes. Everyone can say that, so it's not really different. Well, I want to point out first off, all of us are individuals, right? We're individual as people. So it just common sense would tell us that we're also individual in our styles of the way we market, the way we work, the customers that we want to work with, going back to number 3. So here's what we know to be the truth about the immutable laws of marketing, which is also another great book, actually. And one of those is it's better to be first than it is to be best, right? And I like Tanya's analogy better because if you think about who was the first guy on the moon, right, then we know that it was Neil Armstrong. The whole world knows it's Neil Armstrong. We also know that one step behind him was Buzz Aldrin, right? But we don't hear about him as much because he didn't plant the flag. So in Tanya's analogy, plant the flag. That's what is most important. And then I like to add to this. When you're looking for a tagline or a slogan that's going to differentiate you, even if you feel like, okay, I'm not the first person to use that, or I can't get that URL, or there's somebody else in another state or another part of the world that is using that. What's most important to you is in your local area, and then you can grow that anywhere else that you want to grow. But it is better to be first. And when you're looking for a tagline or a slogan, when you hire Tanya and I to do that sort of thing, then we anguish over it. Like we go through so many questionnaires with you and we talk about that and we try to find that one specific thing that really highlights you and your craft, right? And then we plant that flag for you. And what we look for is something that is inarguable, something that is absolute truth. And I've used this example before. You would be better off to say, I'm the 119th real estate agent in my market as far as volume, but I'm headed to number 1 and I want your business, than to advertise that you're number 1 and that be arguable. So when you're looking for a tagline, it's okay if everyone else might be able to say that. Ask yourself first, is anybody saying that? Because if they're not, you need to say that and be sure you plant that flag.
And then the last branding myth is it's not personal, keep it professional. On the back of all the books that we have, right at the top, it says, people don't do business with a logo, they do business with a person. And people really want to know who they're going to be doing business with, and they want to know the story behind that face. And so there's probably no better demonstration of this than a blog post that I wrote a couple of years back now, 2 or 3 years ago, actually. And you can see it here, it's 2015. And I wrote it based on a conversation that I had with my father. He's quite the character. And so he was visiting in Ohio, and we were on the way from Cincinnati back to Columbus. We had been to my son's volleyball tournament. And we're driving along, and my dad said, he points at a billboard off the side of the road, and he says, hey, honey, there's an idea that I had, and nobody has ever done it, and I'm just surprised that nobody's ever done it. And I thought to myself, oh my, this is going to be a dad moment, right? So it turned out to be almost an hour-long conversation about living in a billboard. And if you guys go to BrandFaceRealEstate.com and click on the blog button here, you'll find it titled The Strangest Branding Conversation Ever. Well, what's really unique about that is that after I did that blog post, number 1, it's our most visited blog post ever. It wasn't too long ago that my dad was going to come visit us, and then I sent out an email to the data, to our list of people that have signed up for various things from us before, and I wanted to let them know that my dad was coming back in town and kind of just give them a little sneak peek. And so this email went out that said, the strangest branding conversation I've ever had, and it reads, my dad is coming to Columbus, Ohio in a few weeks to visit. This brings back a memory from one of his past visits here, which I turned into a blog post that became one of our top viewed posts of all time. I thought I'd share it with you this morning because it very strangely relates to branding. If you are drinking coffee, a word of warning, put this down. You'll thank me later. And yes, almost every visit with Dad turns up a story just like this one. I can't wait to share the next adventure a few weeks down the road. Enjoy, my friends. So the subject line, the strangest branding conversation I've ever had, this particular email had the highest open rate we have ever had at 39%, and that was over 4,000 people that particular email was sent to. 39% of them opened this email and read it. And a huge percentage of them, I can't remember exactly what percentage now, actually clicked through to the link that we provided in this to go to the blog post and read it, some for the second time and some for the first time. But that just goes to show that people really are interested in who you are as a person behind the scenes, and that's why personal branding is what we're so passionate about. Hey, you know, my dad actually is visiting me from Georgia. He lives in North Georgia. He's visiting me from Georgia right now. Would you guys like to meet him? Let me see if Dad. Sorry for the yelling, guys. Hey, come here 1 second and say hi to everyone, please. So this is my dad. Wave, Dad. Can you see? There you are. That's my dad. This is when you guys read the blog post, you just remember the words Billboard Gene. That's how you remember.
Yeah, living high.
Yeah, that's right. Living high on a billboard. Thanks, Dad.
Tell Michael I said hello.
He's right here. He just heard you. Anyway, so that nice cameo appearance by my dad there. I probably caught him off guard. So I'll hear about it later, I'm sure. But anyway, guys, so that concludes the presentation part of today. And I wanted to also share with you guys one other thing. So bear with me here 1 second while I pull the screen back up. And we're almost finished up for today, guys. So another thing we want to do as we go through this Fearless Friday moving forward is to unveil different brands that we have created all over the world. As Michael says, we have created them across 3 countries now. And one of those is actually a woman named Teresa Stark, who lives in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And Teresa, let me move this over. I don't know if the video is over the top of her face. There we go. So Teresa is actually, she's been in our program for a little while, and she will be joining us next week live to really talk about her experience as a BrandFace and what it's meant to her. What you're looking at right now, guys, is actually the BrandFace ID card. And what we mean by this is everybody who comes through our program actually gets an ID card. And on this ID card, it shows 5 different elements of the brand. The first one is her positioning tagline, Your Home Navigator. This is her elevator pitch. I help people navigate the home buying and selling process in Broward and Palm Beach counties so they can enjoy an exclusive lifestyle rich with social connections and waterfront activities. We're going to talk more next week about why we branded Teresa Your Home Navigator and what it's done for her since then. But the other elements of the brand are a photo from Teresa's photo shoot, one of her background branding images, and also a logo. And we have a revised logo, which we'll be showing next week. This was just the first blush, and we've since perfected it and come up with a really cool logo for her. So again, Teresa, I'll just kind of give you guys a sneak peek and why you want to be on next week. Not long after we branded Teresa, she received over $6 million in referrals, and she definitely credits all of that to people now seeing her differently, the way she always wanted to be seen in her market. So join us next week for that. And then finally, I wanted to share with you guys one more thing. Here we go. So if you guys want to learn more information about us, go to brandfacewebinar.com, and you can watch the webinar that every one of our agents watched before they became BrandFace agents. So and you'll see here over to the side, you'll see, we don't show New Zealand on here, but, and that needs to be updated. I think we have a couple more states to add. The ones in orange are the ones where we currently have BrandFace agents, but brandfacewebinar.com is where you're going to learn a little bit more about us. And while you guys are either typing in or, unmuting yourself or whatever, I'm going to let Michael actually share a story to close us out today, which I hope that you guys will truly appreciate, because it's a very powerful story.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're familiar with Norman Vincent Peale, he's a minister, and he's written several books. But the most famous book that he's written, I think, is The Power of Positive Thinking. And of course, Tanya and I are very big Napoleon Hill fans, or anybody who teaches on the power of thinking positively. And if you've been in real estate for longer than an hour, you know that this is something that you're either doing and it's working, or you're not doing and you better start. Like, you have to be your own wellspring of positivity in everything that you do. But part of what BrandFace does for you is it empowers you to be able to do that. And one of the things that I love being about part of this is that when you show somebody something that they might not have been able to see about themselves, and then they begin to transform and become that tagline, that slogan, and they begin to live that point of differentiation, and they see their business just take off from there because it's authentic, right? And so I thought of this story that is in The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And I'm going to put my own little spin on it, little anecdotal spin on it, because I'm not going to read it directly from his quote, but you will get the point of it. But there was a traveler who's walking through a town, and he sees a building under construction. He can't really tell what this construction is, but it looks as though it could be a building that could be built into a skyscraper. It looks as though it could be foundationally that of a church, and he's not sure. So with nothing else to do, he stops in and he sees a guy, and a guy's putting down brick. And he goes to the man and he goes, "Can I ask you something?" And the man says, "Yes." And he goes, "What are you doing?" And the man says, "I'm laying brick." Well, he said, "Okay, that does. Let me go to this other guy." And he goes over here and he sees a guy, and the guy's sawing lumber. And he's like, "Excuse me, can I ask you a question?" And the man says, "Yes, of course. What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I'm sawing lumber, and I'm going to be building this, putting this paneling on the wall." And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, that's good, but it doesn't tell me much more about what's going on." So he goes down to the front of the building, and he starts to walk out, and he sees a man digging a ditch and putting the dirt in a wheelbarrow. And he walks up to the man and he says, "Can I ask you something?" And the man says, "Yes, of course." He says, "What are you doing?" And the man turns around and he looks up at the sky facing the building, and then he looks at the man and he says, "I'm building a cathedral." Now, what's powerful about this story is the mindset of the people that were doing the chores, that were doing the job. Real estate is not just a job. No different than being an auctioneer is not just a job, or being a brand face is not just a job. It is a mentality. It's a lifestyle. It is something that you adapt and you live and you breathe. And when you start to do that, I promise you, you will see your career take off. Because everybody that you meet, it will be very abundantly clear. You're joyous about what you do. You got a great positive attitude. You're great at it, and you're building a cathedral. So I'd like to leave with that part, and I'll hand it back to Tanya to close us out.
Thank you, Michael. I love that story. It's very, very powerful. And as you're talking about it, I'm sitting here thinking, we've all heard that saying, your body is your temple, right? Take care of your body. It's your temple. Well, if your body is your temple, your brand is your cathedral. And I'll leave with that one. But guys, if you have any other questions, you can email me directly and Michael directly as well. Copy us both on any questions you have. It's Tanya@brandfacestar.com or Michael@brandfacestar.com. Feel free to reach out to us there. And again, you can go to brandfacewebinar.com to learn more about what we do. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to spend with us. We know there's a lot out there, and we truly appreciate the time you spent with us. And I'd like to thank, as always, the best partner and friend in the whole world, Michael. Thank you so much. And you guys everybody have a fantastic weekend.